Hey Shug, it's your girl Taj Mahaly, your favorite not bald-headed esthetician, and this is a place for beauty bosses and skin enthusiasts. And yes, I am here to talk to you about how you can open a spa just like I did at the age of 22. First things first, entrepreneurship is a journey. Entrepreneurship is really all about how badly do you want it. That's really what it all boils down to. I am going to give you 5 different tips today of things that I experienced and what I would say would be some great takeaways at opening your spa. Number 1, you want to make sure that you have the clientele first. Let's get into it. If you are starting with a suite, which is just you yourself, no other staff, it is just you building and grinding it out, I do not recommend going on full scale with a whole full front storefront retail situation, because you will burn through a lot of cash really fast, like really quickly. So when you are looking or to get started, whether you are the service provider or whether you have hired a service provider to do the work for you, you want to ensure that they get that base clientele down to where you're at least making enough to cover the bills, cover your payroll, cover your product, and at least making some form of a profit. If there's any time that you should really focus on your profit margin, it's this time right now, because you don't have so many bills just yet. You know, you have your suite rent, you don't have like a water bill, you don't have like an electricity bill. Trust me, y'all, you do not want to jump the gun on this. There's levels to this, and that's what you want to do. So be sure that you have enough clientele for that. Be sure that you are getting or gaining traction, or you're in an area where you can gain traction. While you're having a suite, it's an excellent way to test out whether or not your business is localized in the right place. Because trust me, girl, you don't want to be in a position where you're in this fancy place, you think that you have your right clientele, your avatar, and then they're just not showing up. I made it happen in the trenches. I was in the hood first. And I have a client that tells me all the time, she's like, you know, girl, I was rocking with you when you were in the hood. And I'm like, yes, I know. If they don't come to see you while you're in the hood, they'll come and see you while you're in the nicer side of town too. Just test it out. Don't jump the gun when it comes to super high real estate when you're starting your business. Number 2, don't expect anyone to help you. Let me tell you something. When you get to a point in your business, you start to gain traction, you start to gain some money, you're looking at seeing, commas in your weeks, or you see a comma in your monthly revenue. Your revenue is growing. You're starting to see the business beef up and take off. Do not expect for these other estheticians, do not expect for these other people that you may bring on as a team member to help you. It is very important at this stage of your business that you are surrounded by people that you can trust, because this is a gritty game, you guys. I kid you not. There are people who have come to work with me or try to work with my team, and you think that it's gonna work out, and you think that they're here to help, when really it was never there about help. It was more so about seeing what you're doing. And that was it. You also cannot depend on your friends and family to be your core clients. If you are already in the mindset of, oh, well, my cousin didn't come to see me, or oh, my mom or auntie doesn't come to get their services done by me, you've already lost the game. Of course, when you get started, they can, of course, come when you first start, get a service, maybe buy a product or two, but they are not obligated to being your client, especially because your ideal clients should not be your families and friends. Try your best to create those clear-cut lines from the beginning. Treat your business like a real business up front, and also be aware that nobody owes you anything, especially when you're first starting out. 3, get yourself a social media manager. Hear me out. Now, social media management can be extremely expensive. Trust me, I know. I am very aware of how much social media management can cost. However, when I say social media management, if you're at a point where you are doing the services, checking your clients out, doing all the other things, the first thing I would do is to get either an intern that might be working at a local college nearby you, you'd be surprised, or even grabbing an intern as far as a aesthetic student that's in a school, which they can get some kind of hours by working with you and shadowing with you, and it can be a mutually beneficial relationship. It's really hard for you to show up and be present on social media, constantly marketing and advertising your business when you do not have someone to fully take on that responsibility, because that's a job within itself. I don't run my own spa's social media. Actually, I'll go ahead and link my social media manager. Her name is Alyssa Pina at Alyssa Pina Designs, or Alyssa Pina Studio. I'm not quite sure. I'll make sure it's up there. We'll be correct. But Alyssa does take on clients and helps with their branding, logos, making sure that your graphics are together and they all have the same color, the same hex numbers, and you don't just look all over the place. Your social media is your digital portfolio. That is where most people are gonna see you first. And if they don't see you first, then wherever they see you at, they're gonna go look you up to see it. So you wanna make sure that that is putting your best foot forward, your best portfolio forward, and it all looks put together. When everything is sloppy and we have different fonts and different colors and things that just aren't branded correctly, then it gets out of hand, especially as you start to grow within your business. Now, starting off as just, you doing all your social media, there's nothing wrong with that. However, when you get to a point where you're constantly in the room, you're gonna need that help. Number 4, hire a team, but do it very carefully. With the platform that I've had several people who have been interested and have reached out to work with the Mahaly Spa team or work at the Mahaly Spa, and I believe that it was looked at as if they could come in and maybe see what all was going on here and then see how they could duplicate it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with people going into a job to learn skills and tools on how to operate and run their own business. However, you do have to understand everybody is not going to be upfront about wanting to help you. Everybody's not going to be very upfront with their intent on what they were doing in the first place. Everybody is not going to be courteous enough to give you a 2 weeks notice. Everybody is not going to be courteous enough to allow for you to bring in other people so that the business can continue to grow, and they will chase other people away. It's very important to know and to hire slow and fire fast. That is a very big takeaway. Also, when you're hiring people, another good takeaway is hire the smile, train the skill. That will also take you a lot further. Clients are more inclined to being with a team member or having team members where everyone is extremely nice, hospitable, and catering, regardless if they're still honing in and mastering that skill that you're hiring them for. For instance, they're going to be much more patient with the front desk girl who just started working front desk, but she's extremely kind, nice, and patient with them, versus the one who wants to rush you out of their face, very rude, doesn't want to be hospitable or catering to them, but they know the system like the back of their hand. Who cares if you know the system like the back of your hand if you're rude? Your clients aren't going to want to come to a space where the energy is bad like that. Just understand that you need to make sure that when you are building your team, make sure that you also aren't keeping too much of a hold on pieces and people on the team that may need to be shuffled around. That's a part of a business. Businesses will have shuffling around. Businesses will have turnover. And this is where it really starts to show whether or not if you are really built for owning a business, specifically a service-based business. You cannot grow without a team, no matter what. Number 5, invest in your continuing education. What you learned in school was not enough. I want y'all to hear me again. What you learned in school was not enough. It never was. It never has been, child. So what I need you to understand is you need to go ahead and to visualize and see what direction you want to take your business, your spa in, and then you want to as many continuing education courses that you can that are backing that service provider that you're building yourself up to be. If you know you're someone that wants to really work with lasers and get into the laser more medical space, that means that you need to go ahead and start looking for continuing education in that way. If you know you want to be a skin transformationist and you're looking to treat acne, then you need to be looking for a continuing education course that is going to treat that, and you go and you double down on those things. This could also be considered to be niching, and niching is great when you are first starting off as a spa because you don't want to be an umbrella spa and you haven't mastered certain services and modalities yet. I see it all the time with girls who do body wraps, and then they also do micro shading, and they do lashes, and then they do facials, and they're also a waxer and a sugar, and they also like to do suction cups to the booty and do all kinds of stuff, right? Cute, real cute, but sister, we don't know what you do, at least not well. So for instance, I really love it when the girls start with like waxing, and then after they get started with waxing, they get into micro shading, you know, because that's the next thing, that's the next step. You're expanding on brows, you've mastered brows, so now you can tattoo them. You start with facials, and then you go into body services like body wraps and that kind of thing. You want to do what makes sense for the business. And just because you think that you're offering this buffet and this platter of services does not mean it's going to give you this wider casted net of clients. People want to go to the expert of who they are going to see them for. So for instance, I have a good old tape-ins in right now. The girl that does my hair specializes in tape-ins. That's what she does. Why would I go to another service provider if they do 15 other things, but they just started doing tape-ins, but they don't really do them that much? They kind of do sew-ins. Other days they do, you know, molding and cuts and color, and it doesn't make sense. You want to go to the person who is the best at what they do, period, versus you trying to be this one-stop shop. I promise you it's not going to give you the results that you want. At least not when you first start out. With that being said, some small key takeaways that I'm going to say to you is start off conservative. Make sure your back bar and your products that you're buying are really limited, so you're not constantly replenishing several different sectors all the time. For instance, if you're a waxer, keep your back bar super low, super easy to reorder, to where you're not hashing out so much money on trying to keep the business to survive by making sure you have equipment when really you should do that. Another thing is make sure that you break down your cost of your service so you can know how to properly price. Of course, you can absolutely look around and see what the average going rate of the spas in the area that are doing the same services as you. However, if the supplier that you have has a certain price for sticks, facial products, and the average cost of your facial, you want to make sure you know your numbers before you just start throwing out numbers to make it your price. I promise you, you know that first, then you decide how much you want to make per hour. That's what's really going to help you scale and build up that revenue that you're looking for. And third, make sure you can be in a position to bet on yourself. If you are not in a position to be able to run your spa with either you and one other key team member, you are not ready for a spa. There's going to be a lot of wind that blows in and a lot of wind that blows out, and you need to be able to ensure that at the end of the day, when things come to happen, to fruition, when push comes to shove, you and possibly that key team member can hold it down, POP. All right, please make sure you take a look on Instagram where I'm doing some reels and things like that. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing all of you guys in the next video. I will be making some more content that is more focused on the business aspect of this. If there are any more specific questions that you have, please place them down below in the comments, and also any video recommendations. I would love to do those for you as well. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Bye.